Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Godfather series. And we're in a bar, as usual, because a lot of the nefarious things that happen in the Godfather movies or in bars and or restaurants. Well, the other end of this bar is a pub, which, because of the relaxation of Corona, we use again. But welcome. We have a Aussie guest who... he's come from Australia. He's not just from Australia. He actually traveled from Australia. He has been to the seminar before. And he has had, we were just talking before we got on the camera, he says he thinks some moderate success. Well, actually, and we're not here to share confidentiality stuff, but he has increased his business. And if I read the net worth numbers correctly, about at least 200%, and some numbers he's gone from 2% to 25% in margin.
Correct. Yes.
In margins, which is a big fucking deal. Okay, but he, as he said again off camera, he's just getting started. And I was in an interview before he got here in the other room where they asked me, and I've been at this 50 plus years. And I'm just getting started, what gives me the energy, because I've just scraped the surface. And even though with all the success that QLA has had. But this series it talks to people that have had success with a model. And mainly, although I want to hear it in his own words, the model gives you a different framework to use to think. And whereas it's not as simple as not taking no for an answer. It's not as simple as, 2 plus 2 don't equal 4. They equal some derivative much greater than 4. It gives you a whole other mindset as to how to run your life, how to run your business, and being all you can be. How do you run your relationships with your kids, grandkids, wife, etc. And as I described earlier in another interview just with me, is that I'm this way when I get up in the morning, and I'm this way when I go to sleep at night. Although I might not always be wearing a pinstripe suit like I am now, but it changed my life, and it has. But welcome to the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honored to be here.
So how has your life changed with QLA?
I'll speak from a business perspective first, but I think that once what I thought was a high goal, I look down on now and say, I don't know why my goals have been set so low. So that's probably first and foremost, that you look at what you've done in your life, and my runway's getting shorter, as you have reminded me in the past. So you look back and you think, I've just set my goals way too low. And what I thought would be a big business, I look at now and think it's a very small business. And you keep looking for what's the next step.
And just for the audience, the business you're in is?
We're in real estate. We specialise in property management and also sales, but a lot of property management.
It sounds pretty almost unbelievable to go from a 2 to 25% margin.
Yes, we had some great years, and I listened to you on one of the YouTube videos talk about, or it may have been your book, playing not to lose, and I kind of got to that stage in business where I was playing not to lose rather than playing to win, and our margins dropped, and we were struggling to find out how to revive those. And it wasn't really until I started listening to you and read your first 100 million book in 2019, early 2019, that I had a bit of a mindset change, which became a bigger mindset change, and our margins started to pick up, and over the last 3 years they've increased dramatically, which we're proud of. We're happy about.
What is the normal margin in the business that you're in?
It really varies. Most businesses are very sales geared, so they can be high margins at good times in the market, and they can be very low margins at poor times in the market. We're trying to get that consistent 25 to 30%, but I think the industry average would probably be about 13 to 15, just depending on how the business is run. And there's a lot of businesses that I've bought that were far, far less than that.
The way you do it in Australia, is it any different than the same business would be run in America?
I believe in the United States there's some differences. Particularly in sales, you have a broker arrangement with a buyer and a seller. We have a fiduciary obligation to represent the seller. So the buyer is a client of ours. In property management, it's probably pretty similar. And from the investigations I've done in Edinburgh the last few days, it's very similar.
What was I remember you writing in a report a couple of years ago, I think, that you gave bonuses out.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I try to follow a lot of the wisdom that I've picked up from QLA, and one of them was cash bonuses, and they work. and that's I guess that's the funny thing about what Mr. Peña says is if you listen to it and put it into practice, it works. It may not seem, and some things seem so simple. You sit back and wonder, why haven't I been doing this before?
Yeah. There's an old saying, cash talks and bullshit walks, that's been around forever, but it's true.
Yeah. And you have a very good memory, because that was quite a while ago.
Yeah. Well, I remember, and I chuckled. The only thing I miss about the reports that I used to have as part of the mentor program from the people that attended is I chuckle. Everybody's got something that's kind of funny that they write that is just, matter of fact to me that they find it strange. But I chuckle. And then the last section of those reports was what am I not telling Mr. Peña? And sometimes they were voluminous. What am I not telling them? In other words, even though we had 75 or 78 questions that I thought covered all the germane points, when the answer to what am I not telling Mr. Peña was longer than the original report. But as I told University of Exeter a week or two ago and Princeton 3 weeks ago, to date, there's no algorithm for 50 years of experience and 10,000 transactions. So the things that I come up with, either from the Onassis days or my military experience, is hard to find in a book. But bonuses work. They just do. When I was the head of a public company for 9.5 years, there was only one, and we didn't operate on a quarterly basis. We operated on a 6-month basis. There was only one 6-month period in those years that we didn't pay a bonus. And even though we told the employees countless times, this is not a Christmas bonus. This is a year-end bonus paid at Christmas instead of waiting until December. Okay. We didn't pay one time. Caine Mutiny, the movie. It was like Caine's Mutiny that I had screwed him, and I had kept turkeys from...
That's the other end of it, that it can be an entitlement rather than a bonus.
Exactly. So then we stopped.
Manage that, yeah.
So we stopped paying them at Christmas, much to the chagrin, and we started paying them in February.
Right. So then it seemed more like a bonus now. Right?
Yeah, to take in the year end from December 31, we paid them in February. But they felt that, although nobody voiced it to me, but I heard there are no secrets in the company. There are only rumors. And so I heard through the rumor mill that they were unhappy. But in addition to cash bonuses, there's a number of things, especially vis-a-vis making people individually responsible, individually accountable.
That's worked well for us too. And it's an evolutionary process, because you start with one point of reference in your business for accountability, and then you push it through to further and further. And so the longer you start holding people accountable for, the better your reporting gets. The better your reporting gets, the better the result. And I think I've heard it several times, but I know I've heard it from you. You get what you measure.
Correct. What gets measured gets accomplished. Now, one of the things, and even though it's one of my favorite management tools, not that many of the kids have used it the last 28 years, and that's Jack Welch's rank and yank.
Yeah, we also look at that as well. Okay,
well, that's good, but a lot of the kids don't because if you have 100 employees, I'm one employee, and I rank 99 employees, and those 99 employees rank me. And then the bottom 20%, or whatever percentage you use as a guideline, the bottom 20% every 2 or 3 years get rotated out. Okay. And
I think Jack's is 20 is your top, 70 is your middle, and 10 is going to be constantly going all the time. But that's another great book that you recommended. That's fabulous.
And they used to call him Neutron Jack because neutron bombs only kill people and they don't blow up buildings. And it's rumored that he really did it at the bottom, 30 or 40%. But he went from a company, when he took over GE, there was about 350,000 employees. When he left GE, he had about 160,000 employees, and the company had grown 15 or 20 times in size of revenue, EBITDA, and all the other benchmarks that people use to value companies. He, through stock options and through the growth of the company, became a billionaire himself. But nobody minded him getting rich because it was minimal. It was de minimis vis-a-vis the size of the overall growth that he produced. But Rank and Yank does several things, not the least of which it makes the employees accountable now for themselves. Now, fast forward to Amazon. Jeff, he uses a similar Rank and Yank, except senior management has really nothing to do with it. It's lower management, and middle and lower management are the ones that put down the edict of not charging for overtime and doing some of these other things, coming in on the weekends. And if you want to be part of the management it's 80 hours to keep your job, 85 hours to be considered for promotion, and 90 hours a week to get a promotion. And it's not done by the board level. It's done, so the enforcement is really handled by the employees because they like the idea of being one of the fastest growing and one of the biggest companies in the world. And they've certainly been...
and they pay very well.
Yeah. And they have commercials here in the UK. They got some 65-year-old guy, which isn't old to me, but 65-year-old guy who got a job there, and he works 3 days a week. And he's not crying, but he's saying, I tried to get a job other places, and they just look at how old I am, and here they look at how productive I am. Well, you should always just look at how productive. Unfortunately now, many companies, rightly or wrongly, they need a black, they need an Asian, they need a woman, they need a this, they need a that. And so that's how jobs are getting filled now. And although it's early days, it's been going around about, 15 years now. But we'll see how productive when they look back 100 years to see just exactly where we are. Because productivity in much of the world is going down. That's without the Ukraine. That's without Corona. And so I believe that Corona and unfortunately the Ukraine thing is going to make it harder to judge, because anybody that's known anything, and I have a different perspective. I was on the border of the Iron Curtain in the 60s. I served with NATO. The East Germans were here, and everybody was here, and we were here. And I know very well how easy it is for a junior officer to make a mistake. They're talking about what if Ukraine involves or Russia involve a NATO country. That's as easy as, brushing your teeth. I mean, a lot of bad shit can happen. What's even worse is the general officers have access to nuclear warheads out there, the Russians. 7 general officers, the last time I counted, Russian general officers have been killed in this warfare. That's unheard of. In World War II, I don't think we lost, I'm exaggerating now, this is a Trump exaggeration. In World War II, we didn't lose 7 goddamn generals. So that's one of two things. Either the men they need the leadership right from the front line by a general officer. That means discipline is shit. And I said early on, and it's more or less been proven, that the Russians aren't ill-trained, like people are saying. They're not motivated because they don't want to kill their brothers and sisters. It's tough to make them. The casualty rate for the Russian army is supposedly 10, 20 times more than they're reporting. And the cemeteries and the morgues in Belarus and the neighboring friendly to Russia countries are filling up because they only said 908 people have been killed in Russian troops. That's bullshit, okay? So it's a combination of they don't want to fight. The generals are having to lead from the front and getting whacked. Somebody's going to make a mistake. It's, I don't know if it's 50-50, but I know as a young Army officer myself, it's easy to shoot across the line. Now, in North Korea and South Korea, they shoot back and forth at each other all the time. Okay, India, Pakistan, they shoot back and forth all the time. Well, God forbid that happens. It'll be a messy situation. Now, I say here in Scotland, the chances of us getting bombed in Scotland are 0. Chances of down under, not likely.
Yeah, we don't rate.
Yeah, not likely. Yet, when Chernobyl exploded in '86, we had green ice because the overflow of Chernobyl landed here in northern Britain. Okay, and it ruined. Yeah. So anyway, I'm hoping for a negotiated peace, but Putin has no upside for negotiated peace because he knows it's going to take at least 5 to 10 years for Russia to recover from these sanctions. Now, I said early on, sanctions didn't work in Cuba, sanctions didn't work in Iraq, sanctions didn't work in Iran. Okay. The sanctions that we're putting on Russia are significantly harder than those sanctions we put on those other 3 countries. So we have oligarchs, allegedly, putting pressure on Putin to capitulate because the wealth of the upper class of Russia is disappearing, is completely disappearing. Even the 250 billion guesstimate of what Putin's wealth is from all that he's squirreled away over the years. But it's not likely to affect me here. And quite frankly, it's good for the QLA because the more turmoil, the more chaos, the more motivated sellers.
More fear.
Correct, fear. Even though we call it false expectations appearing real. Down south, we had a guy here another guy from Adelaide at the hardcore who is successful. He's more successful now that he's been using the QLA. But he said that it opened his eyes seeing Nagy, which they don't know each other. Nagy says, God almighty, I saw how much more I could be doing here. And he's been successful. He's in the flower business, if I recall. One of the big flower distributors in the country, maybe in the top 3. But there's opportunities all over the place.